Hey everybody, welcome back to the Metaverse series. It's been a bit of a while since I've created any content, but yeah, today I'm getting back at it and I'm actually focusing on microbiology. And so in this video I'm going to show you how you can create a educational experience all about prokaryotes. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take a picture that I downloaded before, and I'm going to upload it. And so this is going to be a prokaryotic cell, and I'm going to allow for community use. So prokaryotic cell, and then I'm going to create the character so now everybody can use this character. And so what we're going to do in this first scene is we're going to introduce the concept. So in this one, I'm going to say hello, and also for the new users out there who don't know this, there's a trick that you can do if you use this bracket and then put username and then bracket. Then at the end it should allow the it should show up as that person's actual username, the user's actual username. So anyways, hello username. Today we're going to talk about prokaryotes. Prokaryotes. Yeah, sometimes Google doesn't recognize words, but that's alright. So we're going to talk about prokaryotes. I'll say we're going to start, because this is a pretty big subject, so we're going to start talking about prokaryotes, and in particular we're going to talk about their three main shapes. And so yeah, but basically what we're going to do is we're going to introduce the different shapes that prokaryotic cells come in this video, and then in another video we're going to talk about, you know, their anatomy of or I'll say the structure of a prokaryotic cell, as well as the different functions of the different parts. So first and foremost, we're going to link this to scene 2, and in this one I'm going to replace the picture with the first shape that I want to talk about, which is a coccus, and that basically just means sphere. I'm going to actually even mention that in the picture. So actually I'll say cocci, because there are multiple, and that's the plural form of coccus is cocci. So we're going to say the first shape of I'll say the first shape prokaryotic cells can come in. Oops, sorry about that. Can come in is the coccus, and then in parentheses I'll say or sphere sphere shape, period. And so then we'll have to say that under a microscope these cells look like berries, period. Now I think I actually should, in the next scene I'll continue to talk about the coccus shape, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to further elaborate, because this picture has the different forms of coccuses. So I'm going to say in a future video we'll talk more about the different cellular arrangements. So actually I'll say, as you can see, coccus shaped bacteria can be arranged in many different shapes. Period. we'll touch on that more in a future experience. But for now, just remember and then here on the action scene, I'm actually going to have it transition. I'm going to actually have the transition say that coccus equals sphere shape, and it's in all caps because it's really important. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to have this button transition to scene 4. In scene 4, we're going to introduce bacillus or rod-shaped bacteria. Once again, this character that I'm going to pull up, I downloaded it off of the internet. Actually, I need to upload it first. I downloaded it off the internet, and I'm going to upload it into the Metaverse, Metaverse character gallery, so that way other users, or well, yourselves actually can pull this up and use it in your experiences. So, oh shoot, well, I accidentally misspelled bacillus. So I'll probably have to go and re-upload that. In fact, I'll go ahead and do that now. I'd rather take care of that now, because someone could look for this and then they might not be able to find it. So bacillus, yeah, with the tags, be sure that the words are accurate, otherwise it'll create confusion. So the second shape bacteria, I'll say prokaryotes, because there's another type of bacteria. So prokaryotic cells, prokaryotic cells can come in, is the bacillus shape. And then I'll say bacillus or rod-shaped bacteria look like this, period. And so with this one, they don't have any of, they actually do have a few of the arrangements of a bacillus. In particular, when they come in a line, you can have streptobacillus and diplobacillus and things like that. But it's not to the degree of the cocci, so I don't think that I should mention the different variations, because I've already mentioned that we're going to cover them later. So what I'm going to say, in this next character scene is, I'm going to say that, so bacillus shaped bacteria often look like dotted lines under a microscope. And in particular, in this picture, they did gram stains. I remember back when I was taking microbiology, gram stains, that's to test the structure of the cell wall. Once again, I don't want to get too deep into that in this video because we're talking about the shape. But in the next video, or maybe not the next one, but in another experience where I'm talking about gram staining, then I think that actually would be fun to introduce the concept and then ask them what gram stains, what stains should we use in general. But I'll hold off on that for now. So let's see. They often look like dotted lines under a microscope. So when you see a, okay, so just remember cocci. So when you see a dotted line, when you see a rod-shaped organism, remember that ... And then once again, I'm going to put the answer in the button, so that way they're literally clicking on the answer so it's like it's reinforcing the concept that we're going over. So bacillus equals rod shaped. Okay, and so lastly, of the three main bacteria archetypes are the spiral bacteria. These ones are they're actually not particularly common, but they're very distinct. It's impossible almost to mistake it. And while bacillus-shaped bacteria, they come in the form of a rod, these ones, it looks like I put the answer in the wrong box. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste it, and so everything still works. So now with this one, so the last shape, prokaryotes can come in, is the spiral shape, period. Spiral shaped organisms are very distinct, and they look like a twisting weed, period. I'll say worm, actually, because that'll probably come to people's minds more so. A twisting worm. So transition to scene, and then now I need another character scene. And so we have this transition to scene 7, and so spiral bacteria also have unique arrangements, but for now, period. But for now, just remember that ... spiral. Oh, and I also, in one of these, I should put a parentheses, because with spiral bacteria, they're literally referred to as just spiral, so it's a little tough when it comes to deciding if I should do this, but I think for the sake of this, I'll say spiral. So yeah, it's a little tough. So spiral shaped bacteria equals twisting. I'll say twisting, because it's kind of hard to say that they resemble anything else other than a spiral. It's very, very distinct in that regard. Okay, so now we've made it to the end of the I wouldn't say educational part, but I'll say the end of the expository part, where I give out information. So now it's time to test the information. So this is actually an instance where we can use logic boxes. So we're going to say, now let's see if you understand the material, period. And then we're going to have this transition to another scene, and in this scene we're going to use multiple choice. So we're going to want to have multiple answers with multiple outcomes, and this is where our logic boxes are going to come into play. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually, with this one, I think it would be best to use a text input scene. Throughout the experience, we've been specifically typing the answers. We've been saying blank equals blank. So hopefully the idea will be that the student will understand that. In fact, I should actually mention this. Let's see if you understand the material. Answer the following question by typing in one of the answers, by typing in, I'll say the correct answer given to you earlier in the experience, period. And then in parentheses I'll say, so example, if the answer is caucus, type caucus. Alright, and so now we can move on to this and say, what shape does this, or I'll say which, actually, because we're picking between specific numbers. So which shape is this prokaryotic cell? Question mark. Is this prokaryotic cell displayed below, like that? So with that, we now need to use a logic box, and in this case we're going to use the, if I'm not mistaken, the string logic box, which will check for response equals. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have this connect to transition block, response equals, and then in this one we're going to test the value. This is a bacillus shape, by the way, because it looks like a rod, so we're going to put in bacillus, or should I? So what shape is this? So bacillus, and I'll actually go ahead and put the whole thing. So bacillus equals rod shape. And I think to clarify, I should say by typing in the correct answer given to you earlier in the experience. Example, if the organism looks like a sphere, type in caucus equals sphere shaped. So now that way they should be adequately guided into typing in the response. In this case, the response is going to be bacillus equals rod shaped. And I don't believe I used a hyphen earlier, so yeah, I wanted to make sure not to use hyphens then, because hyphens are a little confusing. So okay, so now we need to create two different scenarios. We need to create a scenario where they're right, and we need to create a scenario where they're wrong. So for the scenario where they're wrong, we're going to want it to transition to scene 11. And so we're going to say, sorry, that's incorrect. Okay, check your spelling and remember to answer in all caps. I'll say in all caps, comma, blank equals blank. And so after they see that, they'll be able to transition back to scene 9, and it creates this nice loop to where if they miss the problem, then they can go here, get advice, and then be sitting back to try it again. Now we're going to create the outcome if they succeed. So if it does equal the correct response, then we're going to have a transition to scene 10 and say that's correct. Good job. Now that you know the 3 main shapes, check out part 2 to learn bacterial arrangements. Okay, and then so now we end the scene. Now I haven't created part 2 yet, otherwise I would actually put a logic blocks that will link to the to part 2. But that's alright. I figure I can link back to this in the next one. But okay, so now we just need to test out the experience. Okay, so hello, today we're going to talk about the prokaryotes. Alright, let's see, first shape, come in under a microscope. Its berries look like as you can see. Alright, so everything's checking out. Okay. So they often look like dotted lines under a microscope. So when you see a rod, remember, blank. Right? Yeah, I had to redo this because when I was recording the first time, it didn't pick up my my screen. So embarrassingly enough, it kind of looked like I was just talking to myself. It should be working out now, but yeah, everything seems to be working and checking out. And so now I'm going to test out the answer, which should be Bacillus. Oh, Bacillus equals rod shaped. Alright, and so that worked out. And so yeah, that should have fixed that problem. But nevertheless, everything else seems to check out just fine. So yeah, that's how you can create an experience. Teaches all about prokaryote. Well, not all about prokaryotes because it's a very long subject, but it teaches about most of the ideas important to, their shape and structure. And so now I'm going to go and create part 2, which will deal with the cellular arrangement. So thank you for watching and have a good day.